during this presentation, because we are coming out with a new version and we've also renamed it to vRealize Operations Management, I'm just going to represent this as VROps or vRealize Ops throughout the presentation. So that way you know what I'm talking about. On the 9th, the vRealize Operations Management version 6 will be released. So the specs that I have in here are for the 5.x versions, the older versions, but I'm just going to use the new naming so you can get used to that new name. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So although this VOA is a technical presentation, I'd like to go over just a few introductory slides that I think are beneficial for you as well. First off, let's take a closer look at the benefits to when you implement this program with your customers. First of all, it improves the entry point for access to new accounts. It also gives you a good reason to sell to your naked vSphere customer base. Also assists in making you their VMware trusted advisor. It's very important that you become that to them, because in that way they will keep coming back to you as they need additional VMware products. It makes it quick and easy to close your deals since you're using their collected data. Also offers the potential to sell more hardware and software to them, and helps identify other business problems that they currently have that they just may not be aware of yet. Most importantly, this is a proven program that has generated millions of dollars in incremental pipeline and revenue in just a few short months. And the average deal size is $60K, so it's definitely should be of interest for you to do it. It is in your best interest to start doing VOAs. Now, everything that you need to, all the information that you need to do a VOA is located in Partner Central. It's kind of like it has a one-stop shopping website for specifically the VOA. So you can make it easy to remember. We created the URL. It's vmware.com/go/vSphere optimization. That's the link to go out to it. It provides you with a bunch of training videos, testimonials, reports, and many other templates and tools to make your job a lot easier. So once you can download it into a single zip file and unpack it, and it'll have all these tools in there for you. Some of the sales and marketing assets are organized into these 4 main steps: engage, install, show, and sell, making it easy for you to execute very quickly. It also includes the new grid email campaign, so you can easily create demand and set up appointments. Again, I know this is more of the sales and account manager side of the house, but even as an engineer, you need to kind of understand all the processes associated and what's entailed with it, even for the sales and account manager. So there's some considerations that you should be aware of when conducting a VOA for a customer. You want to make sure that you have a clear understanding of the customer's pain points and what their definition of successful evaluation is. It's really important that you get that, so to ensure that by the end of the VOA, you know you've addressed what's important to them and what would be considered successful. You also want to think ahead and show the customers how you will address their specific pain points. You want to know the customer's priorities and edit the default policy in vROps appropriately for that. You want to know what vSphere licensing they currently have. For example, do they have Essentials Plus or higher? If they have only Essentials, you will have to do a couple of workarounds to get vROps to install correctly to do the VOA, so just as a little tidbit. And finally, make sure you install the advanced version of the temp license so that you can show the full value and all those higher level features of the vROps product. There are a few methods in which you can conduct a VOA deployment. The first is you can do a traditional one-to-one on-site deployment, which is the preferred method, because that way you have that face-to-face time with the customer as you're deploying it. Then you also have the one-to-one remotely to deploy it, where you can remote into their environment if they allow that and deploy the vROps program for them. And finally, you can do a one-to-many event showing several customers at once. So you can hold an event, you can show the deployment of vROps into one of the customer's environments, but yet you're showing it to several customers at once, so you're getting more bang for the buck as far as your time and effort as far as the return on it. So that's a great way to do it if you can pull that off. Again, this program is executed in the 4 simple steps. The first is to engage your customer with the sales script and the tools provided as well to set and also set the date for that initial install. Then you will do the install of the vROps eval software, run the eval, and start gathering all their data. Then you will show the results and the value of the customer's collected data using the report templates that we prepared for you and that you'll modify. Then you're going to sell quickly because now your customer sees the value of the added management to their environment, because the data that you've collected and that you're presenting and all the benefits are all directly related to their environment and how it can improve it. This slide is essentially an overview of the recommended VOA timeline that you're going to go through. You see there that there's 3 main days where you're going to have engagements directly with the customer, day 1, 15, and 30. Which those marks the process that are critical. These are where you have focus activities for both the sales rep and the engineer. In the following slides, we will cover these, each one of these days and the steps associated in more detail. Keep in mind that you should work hand in hand with your account or sales rep throughout the entire VOA timeline process to ensure that you're both in sync and you're on the same page when you're talking to the customer. As you see, both the sales rep and the engineer do have activities on these predetermined days, but again, we're going to be focusing on the engineer side. For the engineer, on day 1, the following tasks should be completed. You're going to start out doing any pre-install planning. Then you're going to install the vROps into the customer's environment. Then you're going to go and customize that default policy in the VOA. These modifications will be provided for you, the recommended ones, and then you can do additional tailoring to the default policy based on what their business pains are and what tailors to them to show that. They'll also provide an orientation with the customer to show how the vSphere web UI and how to generally manage vROps and use it. Don't forget to submit your proof of the install so that you can get credit for it, of course. Talk to your customer and figure out or verify their pain points. Make sure you fully understand those pain points so that when you gather the data and present it back to them at the end, it is information that's very pertinent to what they want to see. Here is a pre-installed checklist that I put together, just some information that you want to be aware of. And first of all, you want to verify that vSphere and vCenter versions and the licensing that they have. Make sure you understand what they do have in their environment currently. Verify any of the vCenter network parameters, rather. You're also going to ensure that all the associated ports are open in their environment. You're going to get their vCenter IP address and also, of course, their username and password for the root account, so you have administrative ability to connect in to install vROps. You're going to make sure that you have that vROps temporary license key. Preferably, you want to make sure that you use the advanced edition, so again, you can show the full capabilities. And finally, you're going to ensure that the virtual environment time is synchronized between all the servers, such as the domain controllers, vCenter, and other VMware appliances. Time, as you know, is very critical, so you need to make sure that that is currently working. This slide is just kind of a quick reference as to the general resource requirements and capabilities for vROps deployments. These numbers are not for the upcoming vROps 6.0 release, but rather the 5X versions. But the newer version is going to be similar, but the numbers are going to be higher. For example, the number of monitored resources, the number of collected metrics, as well as the disk I/O for the analytics VM. Those are all going to be increased with the newer version, as I understand it, but I just kept with the version 5.x because I know those at the moment. And again, that won't be released officially until the 9th. So that gives you an idea of what kind of resources you need based on what kind of environment they have. The install of vROps can be done in 4 steps. First, you're going to add the eval license. Then you're going to configure all the network settings, deploy the VF itself, which consists of 2 VMs, and those are virtual appliances. And finally, register it with the vCenter server. Then after the install is finished, you want to change the default policy, as I mentioned earlier, recommended settings from the VOA toolkit, and again, also take into consideration whatever the customer told you is their pain point, so you might need to reference that in as well. And then you simply just allow time for vROps to start collecting all the analytics information on their environment. Now, right off the bat, vROps will start collecting health and performance information, so you'll have fairly accurate health and performance information immediately. After about a week, you will then have fairly accurate waste and density information. After the 30-day mark, when you come in at 30 days to finish up the VOA assessment, At that point, you'll have a good idea on what kind of capacity savings you'll have. Now, the general rule of thumb is the longer that VROps runs, the more accurate that data will be. Now, 30 days, the reason why they kind of set the plan for 30 days is for that reason. So in that way, you can get all the health and performance, the waste and density, as well as capacity information, and it will be fairly accurate at that point. So that's why they do the 30-day plan. Now, they do recommend that you don't go over the 30 days with the optimization assessment, just as a note. On day 15, the engineer will need to have a discussion with the customer highlighting and showing the collected information related to the health and workload information. We should then talk about some of the troubleshooting capabilities, run the customer through how to interact and use some of the customization capabilities of the user interface, and then finally bring up the topic of optimization so that when you hit that 30-day checkup, you're kind of set a seed for that conversation around optimization, because again, that's when you'll have some accurate information to help with optimization at that 30-day mark. On day 30 is where you're going to compile the report from the collected analytics over the past 30 days. You're going to take the recommended screenshots from VROps and paste them into the report. Then you will show the report to the business decision makers and present the value and demonstrate how VROps will directly address all their pain points with that information. Again, remember, this is all the analytics collected from their environment, so it's directly related to their pain points. The optimization assessment report is really the key deliverable in the sales program, and you want to kind of think of that as like your secret sauce. I mean, because everything that you're doing is coming to this point, and that report is going to show all the value of what VROps can do for them. So again, it's going to show the customer how much more efficient they can be and how much money they can save. Remember, the data that they're looking for, again, is related to their environment. So it's a direct relation of the cost of savings to them specifically. By building the report, it is building the value of VROps essentially. Writing the executive summary of what they said their pain points were, and then highlighting how it will solve those issues from the collected data is very important. Some of the recommended screenshots that we do recommend you to use is the efficiency dashboard, and use the reclaimable waste and the under or oversized VMs. The risk dashboard providing capacity summary, efficiency trends, and forecasting hardware and software resource needs. Lastly, the health dashboard shows troubleshooting events, average rewrite latency, and network congestion. Tips and tricks when you're generating the report and creating those screen captures. The size of the window when you're taking those screenshots is important. If you're large, you're going to have trouble fitting all the information that you need from those screenshots into your report, and it's going to look very clunky. So you want to kind of minimize the size of your window and then take the screenshot. That way it'll keep the size of that image down. Don't screenshot tables. Instead, export them to a CSV file. Don't use the Reports tab, but rather use the Plannings view instead. Also, take a screenshot of the oversized VM report, sorting ascending by columns F, and then hide columns B, C, and F, and show only that pertinent information. Again, just making it look very clean, only showing the information that is directly pertinent to the point you're trying to make and the cost savings. What I want to do is, again, go out to Partner Central. You want to download the VOA Toolkit, review all the information that's in it. It's quite a bit of information. Definitely take time to watch the VOA training videos. There's a lot of good videos in there that will help you so that to get ready for that first VOA that you're going to do for a customer, it's a great source of material for you to go through and get familiar with it ahead of time. Also take time to go through all the templates to modify them, such as adding your corporate logo and company name. Anything that you don't want in there, again, these are just templates that we've provided to you, but you can use them as you wish and put in whatever you want or take away whatever you want. So go ahead and modify them, then save it as a template, and that way whenever you do a VOA, you're going to use that template every time. Finally, you're going to go out and contact all your customers that are those naked vSphere customers. That is what the VOA's tool assessment is really for, is to take those people from their plain naked vSphere and to add operations management to it. So those should be your target hit list that you're going to concentrate on initially. So that concludes my part of the presentation on conducting a VOA.